Folks, welcome back to So Bad It's Good, presented by Betches Media. Today, listen, when House of Villains Season 2 premiered and I saw the cast list, there was one person that I was like, I need to talk to this person. And he is here today because this man has done it all. He is the GOAT. We first met him on The Real World Austin, and then he went on to be the challenge beast that he was. 18 years on MTV. He has faced more eliminations than any other contestant in MTV's The Challenge history. He's also a father, a husband, and a founder of his very successful company, Beta Blocks. And even though he is potentially retired from the challenge, you can now see him every week on House of Villains Season 2 on E. And this dude is crushing it. Like, he can do this with both hands tied behind his back. The one, the only, Wes Bergmann. Welcome to the show.
That was a fantastic intro. I think you absolutely nailed it. I couldn't have said it any better myself.
I mean, Wes, I got to tell you, it is funny to watch you on a show like this because we see like how competitive you are. And then you get mixed with all of these other reality stars like Teresa from New Jersey. You know, we now have Larsa in from Miami. We have Safari faking tears. And you are this competitor where I feel like this must have just been like a quick snack break for you. What was it like going into this house?
Okay, I've got two analogies from a gameplay standpoint that actually makes it way harder than it looks. And I'm going to maybe make it look easy, but it's not easy. So I was a soccer player, a very good soccer player. And whenever anytime that I had the hardest time scoring was in gym class, because it was around a bunch of non-soccer players that would all just hurt around the ball and they would do silly stuff. And so I couldn't perform. I had no room. Whereas then I would actually stand a better shot against better players. The next analogy is, you want to know who professional poker players hate to play against is amateurs, because they go
screw up your game.
They screw up your game because they go all in on silly hands and then they get lucky. And it's like, and so it's the equivalent of every single week on House of Villains, I've got idiots going all in with ridiculous cards where I've got them beat. Statistically, it's an 80% chance that I'm going to win this hand. They should have folded, but instead of folding, they went all in. I had to, because that's what number. And so, and they might just be a pawn. They might go home or whatever. But if every single week everyone just goes all in at me, it's very challenging. So
well, I mean, but that's even if they, some of those people know what a good game player you are. And some people seem like their heads are in the clouds and have no awareness of their surroundings. Like you said, it kind of does screw up your game, but like immediately you get in there into this house and Victoria from The Bachelor, you're able to like say, hey, you've got to be loyal to us. You're in the cult of Wes. And she immediately takes that lifeline. In the moves like that, what are you thinking? Are you like, yep, this is easy breezy, or, you know, we still have to worry?
Well, okay. So what's different about the challenges, there could be 20, 30, maybe even more sometimes players to choose from when building an army, or in this situation, a cult. In this situation, there are far less people to choose from. My desperation level is really, really high. So you've got to find a way to make it work with what you've got. And so this is a woman that I basically asked everybody if they wanted to be in the cult in various ways, and she just found herself in a position where she was equally desperate, and it worked out. It was like instant karma. Like, I saved her the cycle prior to that, and then she immediately like perfectly repaid the favor in such a big way.
And you guys, if you're not watching, this is kind of like the perfect show in the sense that it's insanely funny. Joel McHale hosts it. We love him, but also there is some like decent gameplay in here. Also, we had your nemesis, Johnny Bananas, on last season, and I feel like you guys, I'm more of a Wes guy than a Johnny Bananas guy, but it is interesting how serious you take the gameplay, which elevates this show to the next level. So it's not just silliness. There are some moves that you're making that I really appreciate. And I was wondering, you took the challenge so seriously in terms of training. Like, you had to train because you guys became athletes. You had to become athletes as the challenge continued. How do you prepare for a show like House of Villains? Are you going back and watching like Real Housewives of New Jersey? Or like, what are you doing to prepare?
I didn't do anything at all. There, no, I will say though that I definitely do things, or that I can tell there are things that I do that help me from a repetition standpoint in situations like this. So I take improv classes. I do stand up comedy because like I like to make people laugh, and this is a comedy, and so I am like legitimately made for this. And so to be able to find yourself in those little moments as you're watching the show where you can just throw like a good zinger at somebody, and it's those, and what's fun about the show is that they're looking for that almost more so than the gameplay, and all these little zingers, these little comments. Like if you can't play on your phone while on House of Villains because there's constantly little pieces of comedy that they're leaving in there. And you know, for anyone that hasn't watched the show yet or needs to understand what the premise is, this is a parody of a competition show. And so anyone taking it too seriously is already just going to be edited out, because it's basically a 24/7 improv of like making fun of ourselves. And if
So you had a blast. You had to have a blast doing this then, right?
loved it. Self-deprecation is like the greatest form of comedy that there could possibly be. It's super easy because even the hater has to laugh because you're making fun of yourself, right?
Yeah.
But what was also fun about this is there was multiple, live in is a harsh word, but they would commute to our house, comedians that would be there to help us workshop ideas. So they would, if things were really boring, a comedian would like literally pop out of the closet and be like, "Oh, what do you think about doing this?" And I'd be like, "Well, I don't think you drank enough coffee today. That's a good idea. What if I then elevated like this?" And then he'd be like, "Oh, I like that, but what if you added this?" And it's like, "All right, here we go."
I love that.
Yeah, and I do want to acknowledge the gameplay does matter. They did tell us to up the gameplay from the first season by about 20%. So I just do what I'm told. I'm a good employee. And so I could play incredibly stupid or genius or wherever they want. So I upped it from last season by about 20%. But what I didn't change was like, this is supposed to be a funny spoof on the entire genre. And so and they also gave me permission to make fun of production and the host and the budget. Yeah. And so we're just constantly ripping on the cameraman, the audio man, the producers, the budget. Like anytime something goes wrong, it's like, you cheap bastards, like all this kind of stuff. So
they love all of that stuff, which is so different from kind of the challenge and how intense that has gotten throughout the years. And I do want to point out to the audience is that, you know, I mean, it's kind of unofficial retirement because I think I was reading an interview with you where you were saying, hey, when I do the challenge, it's like this long of filming, but you have to train. You have a successful business that you're doing. So like House of Villains kind of fits in perfectly because you don't want to go away from TV, but there's only so much time you can dedicate to this. And as the challenge gets more intense, I mean, that's just a lot of time commitment competing the way that the challenge we've watched it go from a bunch of kids like drinking and then doing small challenges to like Navy SEAL events. And to me, I was like, oh God, I'm sad to see you go. But at the same time, I completely understand that. How resolute are you still in that? Like, because I feel like you sometimes probably get an itch to come back to TV, which is House of Villains is perfect for.
Yeah, well, you hit the nail on the head. I'm always going to have FOMO, right, about the challenge, and like I retired at a time where I was still at the top, not the top of my game, but even my B plus is still the biggest threat in the house. Like it is what it is. They can't run. They can't think. They're not on my level, with all due respect to all of them. And I could walk in tomorrow and I would still just be absolutely attacked out of a combination of jealousy and threat level. Either all of them fall under one of those two categories. The challenge is, in fact, though, the greatest game that has ever been invented, and I will always be a big giant fan of it. And I still get to watch every episode and engage and banter online and all that kind of stuff. But you know, House of Villains is very, very different, though. It's like if you were to watch both of these on the same night, you would watch the challenge first. Like you just finished dinner, you're ready to watch a sport, but then you're going to need to watch House of Villains to kind of calm down a little bit before bed. And so it's a nice 1-2 punch that yes, they're both reality competition shows. But one is way more of a sport and a cerebral and athletic based, and the other is just good fun,
Yeah. Well, I mean,
like
I consider it like the perfect weekend binge. If you guys have not watched it yet, I'm telling you, like, just if you a little hungover, like watch all 5 episodes of this at once, and you are going to have the perfect weekend watch. And then you'll catch up enough to watch the remaining episodes, which I think we still have like 7 left to go after this week. I wanted to talk to you about what you thought of the cast or first impressions. Safari hitting on Larsa this last week's episode, and I was like, does Larsa and Safari ever does this go further at all? And what did you think of Safari and Larsa?
about them specifically.
Well, I mean, just them like by themselves, but also that they potentially he's starting to flirt with her.
Well, okay, he's flirting with Larsa in a big way. He's flirting with Camila in a big way. he's very respectful of Teresa because she's married, but there's still like he doesn't cross any lines at all. Like her husband would be fine with it. But he still bats his eye. He's a good looking Lothario. Let's call it, which is like, and I know that he doesn't know what Lothario is. And so let me put it in his terms. He's
like, how dare Wes call me a Lothario? That's derogatory.
He's a fuckboy, as was I when I was back in the day when I was younger.
We saw.
And he's also flirting hard with Victoria. I mean, basically, he's doing what we could call on the challenge politicking. Now, I don't think he's doing it on purpose. I think he's doing it just because he's a fuckboy. But it's a very risky strategy, but one that if played properly, it's actually much more effective. It's a very important tool that I, as a married man, don't get to implement, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, that's you got your hands tied behind your back now because of honoring the marriage. Because if you didn't have that, you would unleash that fury as well.
I've been trying to tell my wife she should let me cheat on her with all of these C-list celebrities on television because it's good for our marriage and our household. And for whatever reason, she just is not buying that.
Yeah, no, I see her position on that one. You also you went to Jax's saloon or Jax's Studio City in the first episode to meet Jax Taylor, who was the first to go last season on House of Villains, and obviously he's having trouble with his marriage because he potentially played certain games that you were just talking about. Did you watch? I mean, what do you watch on a normal basis? You didn't prepare in terms of watching these shows, but do you watch other reality TV shows? Did you know anybody in that house?
Well, I had watched season 1 of House of Villains, so I had a rough idea of who Jax was. And also, and this is not a good thing, I actually should use this as a bad data point, but Bananas vouched for him as a good guy, which basically should make me think that he's probably a bad guy. But Bananas vouched for him. I thought he was entertaining on episode 1, and I'm a supporter of any and all types of entrepreneurs. So I went in with that mindset. But it was really funny going in because we were kind of told by the producers, who are comedians that are trying to set us up, by the way, to go get game advice from the guy who got kicked out first. Like, it's like, it'd be weird. Like the starting Yankee lineup going to get advice from the local Little League team. That's what it felt like. But his booze was really good. We got plastered in the middle of the day. And they sent us back with all these like secret bottles that we hid in the closet. So therefore we had a little secret bar funded by Jax the whole however long time.
Oh my God. Does it blow your mind? Like I was thinking about you, watching you on Real World at the very beginning. You've asked this tons of times, but could you have ever imagined your life, what it is now? And the opportunities it's given you. Like, you had no clue when you were 7 strangers picked to be in a house that you would go through, because the challenge was not a thing. And all of these other reality shows have exploded because of shows like, that you came up in. What are your thoughts on where you're at right now?
Well, it helped that everyone, we're talking tens of thousands of people, whenever they got the opportunity, would remind me about the 15 minutes situation, which is now well over 15 years. So, but that advice, although it ended up being freaking wrong, how they meant it was wrong. But if you look at the positive side of what they're saying, don't take any of this for granted, go crush it, enjoy yourself, all that kind of stuff, because it might not last forever. And that attitude kept me kind of constantly like appreciative, knowing that every show you've got to treat it as if it's your only show. There can't be any level of entitlement out of it. What's fun is we just had our Real World Austin reunion at my house, which is where I'm at right now, a few weeks ago. And so 4 or 5 of us from the original season came out. We were together for 3 or so days. We watched almost the entire season together. Oh my God, it is cringe.
Oh my God, dude, please tell me they filmed this. That's, I mean, to be a fly on the wall, to watch you guys watch yourselves.
You guys would have just shit yourself. There was crap.
Who was there? Was like Nehemiah? Like, who was?
Nehemiah was easy because he lives in Kansas City, which is why we did it here, because both of us live here. Melinda, Lacey, and Rachel all flew out. So basically the only ones that weren't there were Johanna and Danny. Danny was kind of working and busy, and it's also a very triggering environment for him. And then Johanna wasn't invited. So that's kind of how.
Sorry, you guys. If you're up on your knowledge, you would understand why Joanna's not invited. But that, I mean, to me, that like kind of warms my cold black heart that you guys get together and watch, and just to think about how far you've come. Because I was thinking like House of Villains last, Johnny Bananas, then of course CT killed it on The Traitors, and I mean, there's so many stars that have been made out of this that are now part of the pop culture lexicon. And I kept watching House of Villains, and I love how you describe yourself as the bad guy version of Obi-Wan, and you have a very specific way. You're like, hey, I find a desperate person, I save their life, and then they're going to save mine eventually at some point. You have rules that you play by, and that's why I'm like, unless some freak accident happens, which there's a lot of freaks in this house, I feel like you're winning this thing. But if you potentially don't, would you ever be willing to do The Traitors? Because I just watched this and I was like, I need this dude on The Traitors immediately.
I can't imagine a world where I am invited or am able to go to The Traitors.
You can't imagine a world where you wouldn't be invited? Are you kidding me?
Nah, I don't think I'm their cup of tea.
I respectfully disagree. I think you would be amazing on The Traitors, but I mean, I feel like
I would never do The Traitors.
Okay.
No, and by the way, The Traitors is one of my favorite shows on television. It is also one of the greatest games that has ever been invented. They should win more than one Emmy. Like the fact that they've only got 1 or 2 is like a travesty. But no, one of the greatest shows of all time. It's just not for me. But I'm looking. I've seen the next season's cast has been announced. I'm looking forward to watching them. They're all great people. So,
You say on this show, cults are built with vulnerable players, and this house is full of them. So we talked about Safari. We talked about Larsa. We already got rid of Larissa from 90 Day Fiance, which that was like a hot mess express. What was your take on like Larissa that first day coming in?
Well, I mean, I don't know what was more jarring, her chest or the fact that she was a Raiders fan. And as a Kansas City guy, the Raiders thing might actually take the cake. There is something so sweet about Larissa that just beams off like that. And I know, and she's just much more sweet than she comes across, right? You see this like playmate, bombshell, overly built chest kind of Raiders thing, and you'd think she's one way, and really, she's just a woman that wants to fall in love and get married, and become an American officially. Like this is her bar. And I unfortunately, and you could tell that when she first saw me, she was like, husband material. She's not wrong. Like, I'm a catch. Like, I am the ultimate catch. I've got it all, right? But I had to let her know I'm married, but I could be her consultant. So
Wes, I got to show you old episodes of 90 Day Fiance because I think you might she goes on a wild journey on that show. So it was great to see her here. And then I was wondering, because you have Richard Hatch, who won the first season of Survivor and unfortunately has been eliminated, but he kind of goes by the beat of his a different drum. He's a different age range. What did you think of Richard?
I really liked Richard. I relate so much to all these other gamers because I've been doing this for so long that when I see the quote of like, a fisherman always sees another fisherman from afar. But the reality of it is Survivor players and Big Brother players in particular have a massive hard on for challengers. Like I'm talking erect. They are so obsessed in love and lust, like obsessed with us. Like is literally the best word. So I always go into these relationships like, oh, we could work together, we could be friends, all this kind of stuff. And they're like, yeah, but in the back of their head, they're like, oh my God, I want to fucking suck his dick so bad. I want to be, and I'm obsessed with him. I got to get rid of him. Like he's a gamer. He's such a big threat. I can't. And so I have such a hard time making friends with these people because the Survivor and Big Brother people, for lack of a better phrase, are just such big fans of us. And I'm like one of the faces of that show. And so I represent their worst nightmares personified. And whereas I'm just like, I just want to make friends.
We see that with Jesse, Mr. Spectacular. He at the end of this past week's episode, he was kind of getting on your game and wanting to get you out, even though you had kind of a tenuous alliance. And so I love he wants to get you out. So you have these people breathing down your neck.
They all do, and and again, Big Brother people are even more obsessed with me than Survivor people. It's just Richard just got caught quicker, and again, like I can't go into a show like this and be like, oh, you're on Big Brother or Survivor. But I should. Like that's what I should be doing
because they're doing that to you.
They're doing that to me. They won't because like in the world of like reality game shows, there's the challenge. Then there's like Survivor and Big Brother, and then there's everything else. And so I'm basically where they want to be. And they are scared of me in this game. They think if they take me out, they'll get rich and famous, that they'll be invited on the challenge. They all want that. And I don't blame them. I've got a great life. When they go to the grocery store, they get tapped on the shoulder and be like, you're from Survivor. Have you ever met Wes? And it's just like that. It's an unfortunate existence. Listen, I don't blame them.
You get what I call great talking head because you know the right thing. Like you are like a pro wrestler in that you speak in sentences that are like perfect pull quotes. And a lot of people don't know how to do that. So it's like amazing. I was also
20 years of practice.
I mean, you've got it mastered, and that's why I was just, I know the challenge is done for now, but I was wondering what was the worst injury you ever got on the challenge because these things have gotten so intense over the years.
Probably the most relevant. I mean, I lost an elimination and had a kind of a neck injury in that elimination, went straight to the hospital. And it was funny because when they're doing like the x-rays, the doctor comes in and they're like super conservative. They're like, what is that? They forgot to take my microphone off. And so there's this lavalier that I'm wearing on my chest and they're like, what is going on? And I was so closely removed from the elimination that they just rushed me right to the hospital in this third world country and the doctor couldn't figure out what was going on. It's like, oh, I forgot to take my mic off. But I'd say I've also a big one was I pulled my bicep on All Stars 3, or not pulled, I tore my bicep on All Stars 3, and that's the first couple of days of that you can't even move your arm, just constant pain. And thankfully it let up a little bit enough for me to kind of stall. But you also can't tell anybody about your injuries because they'll send you home. So you have to suffer in silence or find a way to lie or steal drugs or whatever you got to do to get through it because as soon as you tell them the extent of some of these injuries, boom, you're gone. So you have to just lie.
Have you written a book yet, Wes?
No, I've won enough awards. I don't need another.
Okay. Hey, fair point. That's a fair point. Anyway, if you ever need a ghostwriter, I'll write your book because this is
been written about me though.
You compare it. It just always sounds like the NFL of watching these people like get hurt on the play, and then they're having to like suffer through a play or get pulled out of the game, which is like that's why we love you as a competitor. But then to go back to House of Villains, what did you think of Teresa from Jersey? What did you think of her cooking?
Okay, she got done dirty in this one scene. They set her up. So it was meant to be a quote unquote roast. Like she would cook a roast and then we would roast each other. And that made the deleted scene. So they showed some of it. But everyone was so scared to roast each other because it was early in the game. We didn't know each other. It was also a game of like being social with each other. So the roast didn't go very well. But then they didn't give her a roast. They gave her corned beef. They didn't tell her it was corned beef. It's also obviously one of the worst cuts of meat that there could be. She didn't know how to treat it. It took forever. So she got set up, whether it was on purpose or not, she got set up because she actually is a very good cook. But it's like that stinks because she's got these cookbooks and she's a good chef, and then they just set her up with like this. No,
Yeah,
I'm Irish, so I'm allowed
funny.
to say this. Y'all aren't, but we as Irish people cannot make corned beef taste good. So how is this like cliche Italian from Jersey going to be able to do that? While also she had to spend hours during the cooking process getting ready, which was in a room on another floor. So like it was an interesting feat.
Did she talk to you at all about her husband, Louis? Because she's newly married now for a couple of years. He was writing her cards for like every day she was there. There's a scene of her opening his like love letters to her. Did she talk to you about him at all?
Yeah, she was highly complimentary. I had the privilege of meeting him a few weeks ago at the premiere party in New York, and I got very good vibes from him. But they're in the honeymoon phase. Like I ain't sending my wife. Like she got sent the biggest bouquet of flowers I've personally ever seen. It's like a $2,000 or $3,000 thing, and that might be great, but I'm not sending my wife $3,000 worth of flowers. Like part of marriage is that you can get away with like a once a year grocery store flowers on the day of Valentine's Day. So the fact that she's just getting for no reason $3,000 worth of flowers, he made us all look bad.
Okay, that actually makes a lot of sense. And I'm once again, I'm with you. Wait, you went to ASU, right?
Yep, the Arizona State.
Same, sir. Same. I was
from
in
Olathe, and then you went.
Then
to
I went to
Arizona
ASU.
State. We have a very similar trajectory.
I lived in Manzanita, man. Like yeah.
Oh yeah, that is the
because you're
highest
sci-fi,
STD
right?
rate. Yeah, that is the high. Manzanita is the highest STD per square foot of any building on the planet.
I didn't go into the stats, but I think I have a feeling you're probably right.
You are probably one of those stats.
How dare you? Okay, now we're enemies. We are going up against each other. Third season, House of. I just got to become a star of some sort to compete against you. A couple more minutes here. This is truly thank you. I was just talking to my friends about you who are all big challenge heads, and we always kind of find it so interesting. These like you go head to head with these people, they're your mortal enemies, but at some point over the years, there's a respect earned and a friendship made. And would you say that there's anybody there in the challenge universe that you are like enemies with, or do you kind of have like a respect for everyone at this point?
I definitely don't have a respect for everyone, and I have such a disrespect for some of them that I don't even deserve to have their name uttered as an enemy. There are just some people that are just never going to be on my level, and it's like it's fun to occasionally like drop down a weight class, punch them while they're down, and then go back up to my badass life. That's called trolling. I can't help myself. I'm a golden god at it, but that doesn't mean that I consider them like on my level at all. But
I mean, do you consider Johnny and CT on your level?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Do you guys have like a text thread at all? Like, do you like keep in touch?
Definitely, but with both of them now. Now they're not even close to on my level at a lot of categories.
No, of course not.
Namely being a normal freaking human being. CT is off the charts weird, and Bananas is like, he makes narcissists look like they care about other people. Like, I mean, so I am the closest thing to a real life human being of the three of us.
Well, Johnny's in his 3-piece suit era now. Like he's like 3-piece suit all the time. It's a whole thing going on.
Yeah, he's such a used car salesman.
That's perfect. Okay, perfect. House of Villains. We have so
nice 3-piece suits, by the way. Like, I mean, sometimes it's better to have less suits that are better as opposed to more suits. You know, like he's walked into Brooks Brothers and bought the volume discount.
I feel you completely. House of Villains. We have so many episodes more left. Is there anything that you can tease for what's to come? Like, is there any moments that even shocked you, a reality TV professional?
I'm going to do something that is going to be the most controversial thing in reality television of 2024.
Are you going to cry?
No.
Okay.
No,
okay.
way worse.
I didn't know that.
Way worse. And it's coming. And actually, it's a multi-episode thing that the producers are both in love with me and mad at me that I did this, because I basically introduced a new cast member to the game that is going to play such a central role in the entire thing that it's already started, and they're editing out because they're waiting until a more opportune time to bring it up. But it is going to ruin the game.
Okay, you guys, if that doesn't get you into House of Villains season 2, I don't know what else is going to do it, because I'm telling you, this thing is hysterical. It's got the drama. It's got like kind of everything that you want. You got to binge this all now. Wes has provided us with hours upon hours of entertainment, of like kicking ass at challenges. Obviously, you have a full family life and a successful business outside of all this, which is just insane to even think about that. But what else is coming up for you after House of Villains? And finally, who do you keep in touch with from House of Villains season 2?
I keep in touch with a few of them. Mostly, I'd say Victoria and definitely Safari. I know that Safari doesn't look like me very much, but we're very, very similar in a lot of ways. And I've got a ton of respect for him. And Victoria is just funny. And so I'd say I keep in touch with them the most. A little bit Teresa, a little bit Larissa, a little bit Rich.
And Victoria, you guys, she was a villain on The Bachelor, and she's hysterical on this, talking about going back to OnlyFans throughout the season. So we'll see where that winds up. And then what do you have next? What can you tease us with? Because I know you have this company that is actually, like I said, going full steam ahead. But is there anything in terms of the pop culture space that is coming up for you that we can support?
Yes, but nothing that I can talk about right now.
Okay. Well, Wes, can you at least tell me you'll come back when it happens and we can talk more?
The answer is yes, and always. I've fallen in love with you, my guy. And but there's going to be plenty. The thing is, like, I don't need to plug anything at the end.
I know.
That's for losers. I got so much shit going on. I don't even know how to. The amount of shows that I'm at this point turning down is unreal. And I don't know. It's a good thing, but it's also like I'm just here to shoot the shit with you and to entertain your listeners for a little bit.
And you did that, man. I've been looking forward to this all of this last week, and it has been such a pleasure to talk to you. You're like truly just such a great reality star. And it's so great to see you on this show, and I'll be watching anything that you do in the future. But it's been just truly an honor to talk to you. Go Sun Devils, go KC, and we will talk to you next time, man.
Bye.
Bye.